So today we're going to be talking all about the cost of living in New Jersey. Now I will tell you, if you've never been to the state or you don't know much about it, we are definitely not the cheapest state to live in. In fact, we are the 9th most expensive state in the US, and there's just no way around it. But I'm going to tell you some things that might make you feel a little bit better about living in one of the most expensive states. And if you stick around to the end, I'll share with you the #1 most expensive state to live in the US. Let's get started. All right, so the cost of living includes housing, it includes transportation, it includes food and groceries. It also includes things like healthcare and taxes and anything else you can think of that goes into your expenses. So we're gonna get into all the nitty-gritty over the course of this video. Of course, if you have any questions about anything at all in New Jersey or buying or selling a home, you can definitely leave a comment below. I will answer all, or you can send me a message, DM me, whatever. There's all the different ways that you can get in touch with me. Before we go into it, I just want to share with you, there are basically 3 parts of New Jersey. Some people might tell you there are 2, but I come from the 3rd controversial area called Central New Jersey. So we have North, we have Central, and we have South Jersey. And the numbers I'm going to be sharing with you are really averages, right? So you have to look at exactly which area you're going to be going into to know exactly how much your expenses are going to be. So I'm going to be giving you averages, which of course is the middle. And then if you're in South Jersey, you'll probably pay a little bit less. If you're in North Jersey, you'll probably pay a little bit more. So we have the index, which is 100, and that's sort of like the average for the states. So you use that as a comparison to how New Jersey fares against other states in the US. Okay, so for general cost of living, New Jersey is 120 based on a comparison to the index as 100. So in some other state, you might pay 100. In New Jersey, you're gonna pay 120. That's a big number, and we're gonna go into lots of those other categories that I mentioned, but that's the overall number. And housing is 142, utilities are 109, miscellaneous items are 108. Healthcare is actually 88.4, which means we pay less than the average, which who would have thunk, but we'll go into why in just a second. So I wanted to start by talking about salaries, because I think one of the important things to understand in terms of cost of living is actually the salary that goes along with that, because it's all relative, right? If you're paying less to live, you're probably making a little bit less. And in New Jersey, the average salary is about $82,000 a year. Our law enforcement officers are sort of at the top of the list of the highest paid positions in our state, and rightfully so, they protect us, so I am happy to hear that in a way. And as for our hourly wage workers, our minimum wage right now is 12, going up to 13 soon, and by 2024, New Jersey's minimum wage will be $15, which I actually think isn't that bad. Now, if you talk about housing, I want to actually start with renting, because renting is something that many people in New Jersey do, although I will say that I have a lot of people I know who actually pay less for their mortgage than people who are renting a similar size space. So the only difference between those 2 people is savings. And there are a lot of programs, especially for first-time home buyers, I won't talk about in this video, but there are ways to save and get around putting 20% down, which you don't have to do for a home if you're looking to buy. And I say that because, like I said, the rents are pretty expensive. If you're renting a studio, you're gonna pay about $1,000 a month. If you're renting a 1-bedroom, probably somewhere around $1,200 a month on average. A 2-bedroom is gonna be about $1,500 a month. A 3-bedroom, probably around $1,700 a month. And a 4-bedroom will be somewhere around $2,200 a month. Now remember, I said those numbers vary, those are averages. If you have a 4-bedroom, 2,000 square foot home versus a 4-bedroom, 4,000 square foot home, those numbers are definitely gonna be a bit different. Now, in terms of housing and buying a home, the national average is $291,000. That's the median sale price. In New Jersey, the median sale price is $397,000. Yes, I said that correctly. It's $100,000, more than $100,000 more than the average in the States, which really doesn't surprise me too much because, like I said, we have a higher cost of living, but our wages are higher. So hopefully that means that whatever salary you have, you can afford to buy something somewhere in New Jersey. All right, so to go into a little more details for the housing category within the cost of living, let's talk about taxes. So our income tax rate is progressive. That means that it goes up the more salary you make. So the lowest percentage that you are taxed is for income is 8.97, and then it goes up from there based on your salary. As far as property taxes, our average property taxes in New Jersey are about $9,000, and that's going to be a much higher average in the North Jersey sections and a much lower average in the South Jersey sections, but on average in New Jersey it's about $9,000. Now that seems really high for a lot of people, especially if you're coming from a state where there are not high taxes, and I will say that it's important to note that about 60% of your taxes here in New Jersey anyway go towards the school systems. And if that's true, it makes sense why, and I know that's true, so it makes sense why our taxes are a bit higher, right? We have some of the best school systems in the entire country. So if you're coming here and you're going to be raising kids or you want to have a family, it is one of the best states to move into because our school systems are just so amazing. We have lots of high-ranking schools, lots of award-winning schools, and so if 60% of your taxes are going towards those schools, you are getting something out of it. Now that's why we have a lot of people leave New Jersey, especially retirement age, because they're no longer using the school system, so they don't like that all of their money is going towards the schools that they are not utilizing, and that makes sense. So just keep that in mind, because New Jersey, just to give you a little bit more information, New Jersey, the per student spending is about $20,000 per student. The national average is about $13,000 per student. So when we're talking per student, $7,000 more, that's a big difference, and that really shows with how good our schools are. So I will gladly pay that if I have children in the schools, and I hope that you feel the same way as well. Just another quick side note though about taxes and the school systems, which is important to know. We actually have more school districts in New Jersey than we have towns and municipalities. I'm gonna say that one more time because it's an important piece of this as well. We have more school districts in New Jersey than we have towns and municipalities. And that's also important because that also contributes to the amount of taxes that are needed to pay to build, upkeep, maintain, and educate the students in those schools. You might not have wanted all that information, but there you go, there you have it. Last within the category of housing, we have utilities, and as I said, the number there is 109, so we pay about 9% more than the average in other states, and it's not too terrible, right? So you might pay about $50 to $100 a month for water and sewer. Most of our homes here in New Jersey are public water and public sewer, although we definitely have a fair number of homes that might be well or might still have a septic system. And that's a little bit of a different cost. And if you're going to be looking for a home here, you can absolutely ask your realtor to ask the sellers to provide the last few months of utility bills so that you can actually get a sense of what some of the homes that you're looking at are paying in utility costs. Just a little fun fact for you. Let's talk about transportation now. So New Jersey has a great rail system. We have train lines that go pretty much anywhere in New Jersey. Once you start to get to South Jersey, there's not as many lines that go down that way, but Central and North Jersey have tons of options. We also have a bus system. We also have the ferry, which is pretty awesome. Most people throughout New Jersey forget about this because it's located in Monmouth County, and it goes straight to New York City, which is pretty cool. It's a little bit more expensive than the train, but it's a beautiful ride. Even if you don't necessarily have a reason to go to the city, maybe you don't want to use it for work because it's a little more expensive, but every once in a while, it's a great option, and that's right out of the Highlands in Monmouth County. So I would definitely say to check that out. Now, our train systems, there's a lot of trains that leave every station all day long. They're constantly running till almost midnight, which is nice. And the fares are pretty reasonable. So I would say from Monmouth County to New York, you're gonna pay around $18 one way, which is not bad, and you'll get there in about an hour and 15 minutes. And there's also lots of towns further north that you're gonna get to the city in under 45 minutes, which is really great. And of course the fare will be even cheaper because you're closer to the city already. So although we do have great public transportation systems, I will say the majority of people in New Jersey do have a car, and the only exception to that might be some areas in North Jersey like Hoboken and Jersey City, where it's a very walkable, almost city-like atmosphere, and you can get around on foot or on bike or maybe with a cab, and then use the train for most of what you need to do to get around. But as you travel further south into New Jersey, you definitely probably want to have at least one car per family. And if you do need an Uber to take somewhere, it's about 15 minutes for roughly a 20-minute ride, so not too bad. And we have Ubers throughout the state, and of course they get utilized a lot, especially down our way in Monmouth County in the summers when people are going to the bars or the clubs and things like that at night. So just keep in mind that it does get a little busy in terms of traffic around here if you're coming from a state where there's not a lot of traffic. And I will say, if you're planning to move here and you're trying to figure out your commute and what makes sense, most people have a northbound commute in the morning and then a southbound commute in the afternoon. So if you wanted to be smart and not be on the road with tons of people, you could actually create a reverse commute and go northbound in the morning and then go southbound in the evening. You can also do an east to west commute, which is a little bit easier because there's not as many people traveling east to west. But I will say that the east to west commute can get a little bit dicey, especially during spring, summer, and early fall, because we have a lot of people who like to travel towards the beach. So if you are going from west to the east coast in the afternoons, the evenings, 5 o'clock rush hour time on a Friday, you will hit a bunch of traffic. So you might want to also create a reverse commute in terms of that. Now remember, you can always ask a question or comment below if you have something that you're curious about, because I'm giving you tons of information, so don't be afraid to ask questions. The last thing I'll say with regard to transportation and the costs associated with that, we do typically pay somewhere between $1,200 and $1,500 a year for car insurance, which to me is not too bad. And I've actually heard that you should transfer your policy every 6 to 12 months to a new company to keep the numbers competitive. I don't really do that, but I should. And in fact, I'll probably make another video about ways to save money in New Jersey, because who doesn't want to save money, right? All right, let's move on to food, which is my favorite category, and groceries. Now, in terms of going out to eat, I can't say for sure the exact amount that you're gonna spend, because I don't know what you like to eat. I don't know how much or what you like to drink. I don't know how fancy you like to get, but roughly on average for lunch, you're gonna pay 20 to 25 bucks. And then for dinner, you'll probably pay somewhere between 25 and 40 bucks. Not too bad. And there are tons of great restaurants. We have a lot of locally owned restaurants here. We don't have a lot of big chains, at least where I am in Monmouth County, but throughout New Jersey, we have some of the best food and definitely some of the best pizza and bagels, probably even better than New York, but you're not gonna have a shortage of good food in this area. In terms of groceries, we pay, I don't know, I think it's pretty reasonable, probably about a $3.99-ish for a gallon of milk. I just bought bacon the other day, and you guys know that right now, especially in the last year or two, prices have gone up for everything, but the other day I bought bacon, it was $9.99. I don't buy it that often, so I didn't resist, even though it was crazy expensive. But typically it's somewhere around $5.99 to $6.99. Orange juice is probably about $2.50 to $3. I think the prices are pretty average for groceries. If you want like an estimate of what you might spend, let's say you really like a burger, I spend somewhere between $13 and $18 for a really good burger, and there's tons of really good burger joints. Maybe another video I'll do also. So that gives you kind of an estimate of what you might pay if you like burgers. Let's get right into the next topic. So healthcare is a big topic for a lot of people because, of course, we need to have good facilities, we need to have good doctors, and I am pleased to say that we actually rank below average in the cost for this category. We were 88.4 as opposed to that 100. And the great thing about this is that we have great doctors, we have great specialists, we have great hospitals. I can't say enough about the healthcare in New Jersey. For me personally, I've never really had trouble finding a good doctor for anything that I've ever gone through. I pay roughly $1,000 a month for premiums, and again, that's gonna vary because maybe you work for a private or a public company, or maybe you are self-employed and you buy your own insurance, so numbers can vary there, of course. I pay, I think, about $25 in copay, and obviously we all know that that's determined by what your premiums and what package you choose. And of course you can pay up to $40 to $50 a visit. And there's tons of doctors everywhere. You don't really have to travel very far. And like I said, great hospitals as well. The other thing I'll talk about in healthcare that is also related to our schools and our students is the resources available and the programs available for special needs students. We have some of the best programs in the nation for students with disabilities. And I personally think that that is one of the most valuable things that you can have if you have a family, because we need to make sure that our children are well taken care of and they get the best education possible. So again, just another perk of, yeah, maybe you pay a little bit more here, but you're getting a lot for your money. The other thing we have in terms of healthcare that's really good are our mental health services. We have tons and tons of psychiatrists and therapists and facilities. Whether you need something for a mental health issue or an addiction issue, there's tons of available resources and places you can go to get help throughout the state. So I don't know if that's really the case in other states, but I really value that here in New Jersey. All right, next I want to talk about our furry friends. And if you don't know me, here's my furry friend. This is Lainey. She came to us, and if you're old enough to remember Lassie, she absolutely looks like Lassie. And she has, as you can tell, lots and lots of hair. So we are often at the groomers. Our favorite groomer right here in my area charges us about $120 for her cut, and it is well worth it. They treat her really well, and she comes out beautiful, clean, and with a lot less hair every time we send her. So I'm grateful for that. We spend about $60 for a vet visit here in this area. That's probably average. And I would say we spend somewhere around $300 to $500 for all our vet visits for the year. You know, she might need medication from time to time, so pretty reasonable. And we spend about $50 for her dog food, and I get those big giant bags, and they last probably about a month and a half, and she's happy with it, so I can't complain. And in terms of pet insurance, you'll pay maybe roughly between $50 and $70 a month if you choose to go that route, and some people find that to be very valuable, and we have great vet hospitals throughout New Jersey as well in case something happens to your furry friend. All right, so next up on our list is childcare, and this is a big one for a lot of people, and I'm gonna ask that you sit down for this because I don't wanna be responsible if you fall off your chair or fall down because the number is pretty crazy, and most people get pretty worked up about this. So it's about $1,000 a month for full-time childcare, and that might change a little bit depending on the circumstance that you're looking for. If you want a nanny versus one of the larger facilities versus an in-home place, you know, those numbers might fluctuate a little bit, but you are paying a pretty penny. I actually know a lot of people who work actually just to pay childcare and don't make much more in their paycheck after they've paid the childcare, but they do get health benefits out of that job. So, you know, there is a little bit of value there, and it's unfortunate, but again, these are your children, so you do want to take good care of them, hopefully. And pro tip for you, you could be like my mom and guilt trip your children into making sure they take care of you when you're older, and then those expenses for elder care and assisted living are actually way higher than childcare. So maybe it's worth it to pay that $1,000 or maybe even a little bit more if you can find a way to make sure your kids take care of you on the other end. So I don't know, just a little quick tip for you. All right, we'll be wrapping up with entertainment and other miscellaneous items. So there are no shortage of things to do here in New Jersey. We of course have wonderful beaches, we have concert venues, we have theaters, tons of music all the time. Really, if you kind of live or are thinking of living in the central areas of New Jersey, we have Asbury Park, which is like our Mecca in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, our Mecca in New Jersey for live music. There's always music playing, even in the dead of winter, and that's a really fun thing to do, of course. And we have other huge festivals. We have a music festival in September called See Here Now, which brings huge bands and musicians for about 3 days. It's a couple $100 to go, but it's well worth it, super fun. We have Atlantic City, we have Cape May, we have Hoboken, we have Jersey City. There's all these little towns that you can go to and enjoy. We have breweries, we have distilleries. There's just so much to do, and not everything is something that you have to pay to go experience, right? We have craft fairs in the summer, we have beer festivals in the summer, we have seafood festivals in the summer, we have Italian festivals, we have the American Dream Mall, which was recently just finished, which is an indoor water park and shopping mall. It's huge. We have the Liberty Science Center to take your kids and learn all about how things work. You just won't get bored here, I promise you. And if you are bored, then you are living under a rock and staying in your house because there's so much to do. And miscellaneous category falls into that 108 in terms of that ratio that we were comparing, so 8% more, which is not too crazy in my opinion. I usually pay to go see some sort of concert or theater or something like that, somewhere between $50 and $150. And to me, it's well worth it because I enjoy enjoying my time. If you're ever looking for a concert buddy, you can give me a call. So there you have it. I think we covered all the cost of living categories that I could think of, and I hope this was informative for you. If you stuck around, the #1 most expensive state to live in, I really thought I picked New York or California. I wasn't even thinking Hawaii. Duh. It's so hard and so expensive to get things there, so that makes a lot of sense. And I looked up a couple of fun facts. So the average, or median, I should say, the median sale price for a home on Honolulu is $1.3 million. The cost of a gallon of milk is $4.40, so just a little bit more than here in New Jersey, honestly. And this one really blew me out of the water. I couldn't fathom it. $470 for 1 month of energy costs. That's just crazy. I don't know if I would be able to pay that. I don't know if I would want to pay that, but I would definitely love to live in Hawaii. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, like I said, leave a comment below. If you have a suggestion for other videos you'd like me to make, I'm happy to do that as well. Reach out anytime you have a question. Be well and be kind.